welcome to a new video. Today I am doing the Q&A that I promised. You guys asked me questions on YouTube, Instagram and my Patreon. By the way, huge shout out and thank you to all my patrons that have supported me throughout the year. I'm so grateful for your support and outpour of positivity. Thank you so much. I originally had the idea to film like cute little bits of me doing work in the house because I'm in the new house and I'm having some things to do today, and I wanted to work and answer questions while I do it. However, I don't know if you can hear the wind and the rattling and stuff, but the weather is much worse than I anticipated today. It's very uncomfortable and very cold. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the work done as fast as I humanly possibly can, get home, take a hot shower, and sit down in a more cozy setting to talk with you guys. I will try to lay some visual stuff and some clips on top so it's not as boring for you guys. But yeah, I'm not gonna be trying to film and work at the same time. Before I do that though, I do have one question that I kind of already have answered, but it's the first question and it makes sense to answer it here. And that question is, since your renovation content is behind, do you already live in your new house? No. No. I wish the answer was yes. We've been working so hard every free minute that we had, and we've been talking with our constructor, and he's been trying to come more often, but he is just highly overbooked. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that he's coming more from January on, because otherwise we're gonna be homeless for a while, and that would not be fun, because the house is just not ready to move in. There are just some key elements missing. We don't mind living on the floor or whatever, like we don't have the illusion that the house is gonna be like perfect when we move in, absolutely not. But like we're still missing our new electricity, we are missing the floor, like we have like a whole part of the house that has like a wood floor that needs to be replaced, like including the wood beams holding up the floor. That's going to be a huge project. We haven't even started on that one. We're not even done with coating all the walls yet. The new windows aren't here yet, but they are apparently on a container ship on their way here. So hopefully at least the windows will be sorted, and then it's hopefully not as miserable and cold in here anymore. But yeah, and those are just the big tasks. There are like a billion small tasks in the middle that we still need to do. We have nothing installed and nothing is done, and it's so stressful. It's so stressful, and I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, the short answer is no, and we don't know when we can move in, but we know that we have to move in very soon. Fun. That's a lot of fun. But it's gonna work out somehow. That's like the biggest life lesson of the Azores ever. Things are somehow always gonna work out. And that's the wind, if you could hear that. Okay, let's change the setting. And welcome back. It is actually the next day, but we're just gonna ignore that. Is it possible to live on the island for someone without a car? I mean, for regular living, not for visiting as a tourist. So I actually don't have a car, and I do know quite a few people who don't have cars as well. So it is possible, but it is definitely difficult. For me, it's only possible because my partner has a car, but I'm very reliant on him with that, and I don't like that. I wish I had a car. If I had the funds to get a car, I would get a car, because it just gives you so much freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want, because we don't really have a public transportation system. Like there are buses, but they drive like 2-3 times a day, and you cannot even get around the entire island in a day with public transport. And the buses also don't go everywhere, obviously, so a car just makes a lot of sense here. Also, if you like have to do any groceries, because not every town has a big grocery store. If you need healthcare, for example, it also makes sense to have a car. They do have ambulances here, But like if you have something minor where you would not call an ambulance, but you do need medical attention, it just makes sense to have a car. If you are a very sporty bikes person, maybe a bike is good enough for you. But for that, I feel like you need to be very passionate about biking. Or maybe like a scooter or something could be like a middle ground. But yeah, it is possible. It just makes life very complicated. Since you mentioned in one video that it can get really cold in the winter in the Azores, I've been curious, what kind of heating do you plan for the house? Is geothermic heating an option? So first of all, because I already know I'm gonna get mad comments again, it doesn't get super cold. Like we don't have minus degrees. The problem is the humidity, like 10 degrees plus, and I'm talking Celsius by the way, 10 degrees plus, they just feel so much colder because of the wind and the extreme humidity, and that like creeps into your bones and makes you feel very cold sometimes. But we have, in the last couple of years, completely managed without any heating at all. We have like a small little heater that we can plug in. And while it has been sometimes pretty uncomfortable, it's been good enough. For the new house, however, we are planning to have a little fireplace in the living room and the stone oven in the kitchen. If you light a fire in there, it can also get quite nice and cozy. So that is what we are planning. Regarding geothermic heating, I don't think that is an option for private people. I've never heard of private geothermic heating before. But on San Miguel Island, they do have a thing where they produce energy with the geothermical stuff that's going on. I don't know the proper terms for this. But I know that they produce energy with the volcanoes there, because San Miguel has the most active volcanoes. They do not feed the entire island with this energy. I think it's around the 40% mark or something. I don't know exactly. When I was a tour guide, I asked every single person that I knew how much energy the geothermic like complex that they have is producing for the island, and everybody gave me a different number, so I have no idea what the actual number is. But it is a fair percentage on San Miguel, but I've never heard about any similar project on any of the other islands. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but as far as I know, it's not being done, and I don't think private is an option. And honestly, I think on Pico Island, the volcanoes are too quiet to produce that. I don't know, I'm not an expert on that, but like the volcanoes on Pico are very quiet, and on San Miguel it's very different. So I guess it depends on the island that you're on. What are your dreams for your future garden or orchard? What types of plants are you already nursing, including trees that may not yet be in their permanent home? I love this question so much, and it came from one of my Patreons and friends at the same time, so thank you, Wayne. I made a full video of the plants that we had in the beginning when we first got the house. I will leave that linked up and down. And that hasn't really changed. The problem is just that we're not any closer to that goal. Since the last year has happened very differently from what we anticipated, and the renovations taking much longer and being much harder than we anticipated, we have paused the whole garden rewilding land project that we had. I've talked about this also in another video. I'm also gonna link that if you need more information of why we paused it or my thoughts on that. So there's not much happening right now. However, because it is the winter, it is finally time to get trees, and that is something that we have done. We have planted a bunch of trees, some that we have grown from seed and others that we have bought at a place here where you can buy trees, some that we have gotten from a place here from the government, I guess, where they grow the endemic plants and some other plants, and you can get them for free. So you can just go there and say, hey, I would like, you know, so and so many faya bushes or urse, the Erica sorica plant, and then you can take them home, and it's completely for free. It's pretty cool. We've been there and we picked up a few plants there as well. So we do have a few more things in the garden, but nothing crazy. Actually, 2 days ago from me filming this, I picked up a batch of new trees that just arrived on the island, and it was raspberries, blueberries, olives and a walnut tree, so very exciting. We're still waiting on a few more that we have ordered, but those are not in the earth yet, but will be soon. And I cannot wait for the beginning of next year when I can finally see vegetables again. How's the weather? Do you have many storms and destructive windstorms or hurricanes? How much sun do you get? Is it sunny often enough for solar? Is there steady winds? How long or when is the rainy season? So the weather on the Azores in general can be described in one single word, and that is unpredictable. The Azores have like this saying that you can experience all 4 seasons in a day at any given time of the year. However, that and the fact that the Azores lately have been compared a lot to Hawaii makes people think that we have steady temperatures all year round, which is not the case. We do experience summer and winter. I made a whole video about the winter on the Azores, I think last week? Yes, last week. Oh my god, I'm done with the year, I'm very tired. But I made a whole video about the winter on the Azores and how that can look like in some years. And I will leave it also up above and down below if you want to see that. But in general, I've been here for, well, more or less 5 years, in the beginning on and off, and now for a couple of years steady. And every single year has been completely unique and different. Of course, climate change doesn't help. If you already have a very unpredictable weather pattern and then you have climate change on top, it just gets chaotic. But yeah, we do have a lot warmer temperatures in the summer and a lot colder temperatures in the winter. And in the winter we have a lot more storms and a lot more rain. But that doesn't mean that we don't have any rain in the summer. So I don't think we have a rainy season. If anything, we have a stormy season, but it's just winter, really. We have winter and summer. We do have destructive storms sometimes. Hurricanes usually no. But in 2019, in October of 2019, the Azores were hit by a hurricane. That hurricane was definitely very much out of order, but we do have a lot of strong tropical storms. This year we had a lot of storms back to back to back to back to back, and it just stopped about 1.5, 2 weeks ago, and I'm so glad we're finally getting a break from those storms. But usually the damage is okay. Usually there is no super heavy damage, also because people here are very used to this, so people know exactly how to react. People are very calm about it, and usually not much happens, but sometimes stuff does happen, but less because of the wind, but more because of the waves, because we can get very high waves during storms, and when they enter into towns and living areas, then of course that can cause damage. Last question was about solar. Again, I'm not an energy expert in any way, shape or form, but we do get enough sun for solar, especially in the summer, for sure. Is there a container harbor on each island? I think most islands have a container harbor. I'm pretty sure. Corvo Island, I think, does not have a... I think the harbor is too small for container ships. And Graciosa, I have no idea because I've never been there. I've not seen the harbor. I don't know. But I think most other islands do have a container ship harbor. Don't quote me on it, please, but I'm pretty sure most other islands do. However, on Flores Island, they currently don't, but they usually do, because in 2019, as I just mentioned in the question before, in 2019, we were hit by a hurricane. It was called Hurricane Lorenzo, and that storm hit Flores and Corvo Island the hardest and destroyed the container harbor of Flores Island, which was the only container harbor they had. Or in general, the only bigger harbor they had. And Corvo and Flores are very far off of the rest of the archipelago. They're quite far away. So that was pretty rough, and they have been rebuilding it since, well, it happened in the end of 2019, so you can guess that it took a long time for things to get started because of the pandemic. But they have been working on it, they have been restoring it. However, this winter we had, as I said, a lot of very heavy storms as well, and the harbor got destroyed again, and all the construction material got washed away and destroyed as well, which is so unfortunate. And I feel so sorry for everybody living on Flores Island, because the situation is just difficult for so many years now. But fingers crossed they can fix that harbor so they can have the container ships again. How do you earn a living, or what is your job? And is it easy to find work on the islands? So first of all, I am an author of books. You can see them here. These are the books that I've published so far. So I'm a writer. I'm also a freelance creative. I work as a writer and translator and like just a creative person that helps brainstorming ideas and that kind of stuff, specifically in the environmental space. I'm open for work, by the way, so if anybody is looking for a freelancer, especially in the environmental space, let me know. I'm currently open for more work. And besides those two things, I am also a Skillshare teacher, and I've actually just released a new class, so thank you for that question, so I could plug that in there. Of course, I brought a brush for, the leaves, because I know this place. But I didn't bring something to sit on, like a towel or something, even though it has been raining all night and everything is soaked. And I'm wearing my best and favorite pants that I have already stained and ruined, because yesterday, I don't know if you can tell, we've been working with black stuff in the house, and the tripod was there and apparently touched some of that black stuff, and now it's all over me. And I swear to you, this day so far has been going so badly. It's like one of those days where just everything goes wrong, like every tiny thing. I also arrived to this place and they were doing like woodworks over there, so fingers crossed they don't continue that. But today is the first day in months, and I'm not even joking, that the weather is good and I have the car and I have the time to come out here and film my next Skillshare class. But yeah, I just released a new Skillshare class all about environmentalism, and before that I have published already Skillshare classes about writing. I will leave everything linked down below, so if you're interested in classes about writing or environmentalism, please check them out. Regarding the second part of that question, I feel like that's kind of hard to answer because I am self-employed, so I cannot speak from personal experience. I have worked in the tourism industry, first on the island and then in Germany remotely. So that was my story before self-employment. But I know that a lot of Azorians are actually forced to leave the islands, or just leave the islands. Some are forced, some just leave on because they want to, because there are just not a lot of opportunities here. The two biggest economic areas that you can work in are tourism, which mostly happens in the summer, so it's very hard to get a full year contract, and cow farming. Those are like the two big income places. Of course there are other jobs, but like especially if you're not like native Portuguese, it's very hard to get in there. But it's not impossible, I guess. I don't have any personal experience, but if you are a foreigner like me and, for example, your Portuguese isn't as great and fluid, the only option you really have is tourism. And again, it's questionable if that is an area that you would like to work in, or maybe as like a cleaning person in tourist spaces, for example. But yeah, everything in the whole tourism area is like your best bet as a foreigner. So if you are into just a tourism job and are also okay with the minimum wage of Portugal, then I think you could definitely find a job here. I don't think it's impossible, but if you're looking for something that is challenging you more, or something where you can educate yourself more, or be in like a cool, crazy office job or whatever, the Azores are not necessarily the place for you, unless, of course, you have a remote job and work from home. So I'm gonna make a cut here because the length of this video is getting completely out of control because I just don't know how to shut the fuck up. So I'm gonna make a part 2 next week. So yeah, get ready. I'm gonna answer more questions, but only next week.